Hi guys, my name is Josh and you're watching the NSX experiment. When I decided to move forward with this project, the first thing I wanted to do was get pre-qualified for a loan. I didn't have the kind of cash it took to buy this thing, so I needed to get a loan. And I wanted to get pre-qualified because when these cars are on the market and they're reasonably priced, they move pretty quick. So I didn't want to be wasting the seller's time, I didn't want to be wasting my time, so I wanted to get all that stuff out of the way. So the first thing I did was pretty much what anybody would do, is contact their own bank where they're doing their regular checking and savings. I reached out to them, told them what I was wanting to do, what I was wanting to buy, and wanted to see if they could help me out. The first thing I learned is that most banks tend to shy away from loans on these types of cars. Firstly, it's considered an exotic, and being 17 years old, they also consider it a borderline classic. And both of those categories put a bank outside their comfort zone, even if you've got great credit and a whole bunch of money down. My initial budget for the car was about $40,000. And because of my budget limitations, it put me in the year range of 91 to 94. I was hoping for a 95 because 95 was the first year of the Target Top, and I really wanted a Target Top, but I wasn't holding my breath. So I wanted to get pre-qualified for 50, just in case that once-in-a-lifetime deal came around and presented itself, I would have some wiggle room, but my budget was $40,000. And going back and forth with my bank a little bit, I soon discovered that getting pre-qualified isn't really how they want to do it, because they want to know the exact car that you're going to buy. They want a copy of the title, front and back, they need to verify the VIN, and have all these other things signed and taken care of before they'll process the loan. And I wasn't aware of that, so it took a little while going back and forth with my bank until I got everything kind of squared away. So I needed to go find a car, and we'll cover that in the next video. But my bank seemed to be going back and forth, kind of dragging their feet, so while they were doing that, I decided to kind of check out some other financial institutions and see what they came up with. And doing so was a lot easier at this point because I already knew what my bank required as far as documentation, paperwork, whatever. So it made dealing with the other banks, already knowing this, a lot easier and a lot faster. So what kind of documentation did a bank want to process a loan for a classic exotic? Well, turns out banks like that warm fuzzy feeling. They don't want to get screwed. Sure, it's cool when they screw us, but that's a whole other video. So the reason they want you to find the exact car that you want the loan for is because they want to verify the VIN, the mileage, the condition, as much as they possibly can about the car. When these things are for sale private party, there's usually only a handful at a time. It's not like getting a loan for a Camry or a Honda Accord, because there's like tens of thousands of them out there, and it's really easy to put an actual cash value on these things because there's just so many numbers out there to average together. It's not so much the case for this. You need to find out what book value is. I went with NADA because that's the book value that my state typically uses, but I also included the Kelley Blue Book. I found as many private party examples for sale as I could, as well as dealerships that had these cars for sale as well, because I wanted to be as thorough as possible, but I wanted as many numbers as I could get to average together to get a pretty solid ACV, or actual cash value. So once an actual cash value was established and agreed upon, the bank required the seller to send them a full color scan, front and back, of the title itself, again for verification purposes. At that point, they also required the seller and myself to fill out a state bill of sale or Idaho bill of sale, have it notarized, and lastly they wanted the seller to fill out a power of attorney. And this was for the rare instance that something might happen to the title, get lost in the mail or damaged in transit, before the bank could actually get their hands on it. They wanted that power of attorney, or needed that power of attorney, to be able to duplicate the title on behalf of the seller to finish processing the loan. As it turns out, it was a good thing that I did some shopping around for a loan. Because by the time my bank was all said and done, the interest rate they offered me wasn't that great. While I was dealing with my bank, I also applied online through PenFed. After doing some research, I found that a lot of NSX owners went online and got a loan through PenFed. Everything's online, it was very easy to do, and the interest rate was very, very good. It was in fact almost half of what my local bank offered me. But I ended up going through a different credit union here local to my area in the Boise area called Mountain America Credit Union. And when I initially called them, I loved the irony that while I was on hold, the message and music playing said, when a representative comes on the line, ask them about a dream rate for your dream car. That's why I was calling. So when the gal answered the phone and she asked how she could help me, that's what I told her. I said, well, you can offer me a dream rate for my dream car. And that's how it all started, and that's how I ended up getting a loan through Mountain America Credit Union, because not only were they also easy to deal with, but they beat out PenFed's great rate by a whole nother 0.25%. And me personally, I like the added security of being able to drive down the road. If anything were to ever go wrong, I could go right down the road to the brick and mortar store and I could talk to a real live person instead of going back and forth through emails or calls or whatever. So shout out to Mountain America. They got me my dream rate for my dream car. I appreciate you stopping by. That's it for this episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Next time we're going to be talking about the process and where I actually found the car and how I found it. But until then, I hope you guys have a great day. See you on the next one.